It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers codified this in the documents that founded this country. Our reliance, our belief in God, and our reliance upon God. Of that, there's just no debate on that. You may like it, may not like it. Declaration of Independence, we find these truths to be self-evident, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, of which are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. It goes on in the Constitution to say we are putting together this Constitution in a preamble to secure the blessings, not only for ourselves, for posterity. And that Constitution followed with a Bill of Rights that enumerated those godly rights given to man, including the very first one, which was the right to believe in God and to express that belief anytime, anywhere, including the public square.
33 million. It's proven to the money investors that people want something to feed their souls, not just their worst desires.
Absolutely.
And
yes, indeed.
This kind of sums up my entire dialogue career on the heat of the night. You ready for this? Okay, this is it. My 7 years on the heat of the night. My dialogue all summarized in this. Get right on it, Chief.
Skinner, but Bubba's my name. I like my iced tea sweet and my women the same. I'm your brown-haired badge here in little old Sparta, but nobody's bigger or tougher or smarter. If you're looking to fight, best not be with me. Gonna be held tight, well now we'll just see. You never know in the heat of the night on TNT. Heat of the night on TNT. Now I don't put on any airs, but then I ain't no slob. Just a redneck boy with a blue-collar job. The ladies I date, they gonna have them some fun, cause I'm a big hunk of crime fighting son of a gun. So if you're looking to fight, come on up in the ring. You wanna be held tight, just about anything can happen in the heat of the night on TNT. Hubba, 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 heat of the night on TNT. Yeah.
It recognizes our belief in God, our country, not just individuals, our country, our founding fathers.
This hour of the Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
From NFL quarterback to Hollywood to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX, this is the Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. You believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. Free at last! Free at last!
best talk in town. Talk Radio 1550 KXEX.
And welcome to the Alan Autry Show, No Retreat. It's Taco Tuesday again.
Woohoo!
And Jeremy, you get old Chewy. I know Chewy's on the line. You got him on hold. We'll bring him in here.
He's been on hold a while.
He has been on hold.
He called in like at 11.
He's a lawyer follower. You know how I find out what I'm seeing?
What?
Following up. We have big Mondays. People really tune in on Mondays, Jeremy.
Really? Big Monday, yeah.
Big numbers.
Huge.
Huge numbers on Monday. Yeah,
What about Tuesday?
Over $1 million. Tuesday's not bad.
Okay.
But, we borrowed from your strategy in life, Bobby. I've taken that to heart. Start slow and then taper off.
Absolutely.
And that's the motto of this show.
Motto I live by, and that's why I'm so successful.
Hey, did you see Barbie yet, Bob?
No, I have not.
No, I hear it's a good movie. Guillermo said people were crying.
Oh, I need a review from you for Oppenheimer. Yeah.
We'll give you a review.
Okay.
Oppenheimer.
Can't wait for that one.
I want to see your papers before I give you a review, though. Make sure your papers are in order to see Oppenheimer.
I
haven't seen Barbie.
Huh?
I heard it's woke.
I was sitting here yesterday talking to Guillermo. Welcome, Guillermo. Welcome, Bob. I just delved right into the show without introducing the folks, as if they need an introduction. But I was sitting there thinking, about a toy doll, this huge, massive movie that's just going to break records. And I'm going, I don't understand this. Then it hit me driving home the other day. You know, one of my favorite movies, a big hit, was about a toy called Toy Story.
That was a great movie.
That was a
several movies, actually.
I love that movie about toys. And
Woody.
Woody. What is it about that? Why what do you think that is? I mean, this started off with some really deep conversation. Forget about the war in Ukraine. Forget about inflation. Forget about the Hunter Biden laptop. Forget about the impeachment of Joe Biden. Forget about Trump's being railroaded out of the political world. Let's talk about why people are fascinated with Toy Stories.
And I'll tell you what, this will be your highest rated show because we're not talking about all those other things. We're talking about
you
movies.
May have a good point.
Now, see, I've always railed on the competition because they do a lot of this fluff talk. They talk about movies.
Oh,
all
I've
the
seen your
time.
promos. What was it? What used to be the thing for KXEX? We won't talk about entertainment.
No movies.
No movies.
It doesn't exist.
Straight hardcore politics, baby. KXEX is the home for you.
all the time.
And then you're expounding about Barbie for 20 minutes yesterday.
What are you talking about?
Did you see the numbers? The numbers were huge.
They were huge. And
We got it. Our
missed the show yesterday.
Huh?
I missed
Oh,
the
our
a lot
show.
of people. Yes.
Maybe we should just talk about movies the whole hour. I mean, that's what gets the rating.
All right, let me
Nobody
ask you-
here knows
let
about
me
movies.
Let me ask you this.
He does. He's in a lot of them.
Oh, he is?
Let me ask. Remember we did the show the other day about everything is political, that you will have a political, and you got to admit it kind of shocked you.
It did. Yeah.
Oh, we did the Q&A on that.
Yeah. The test.
Yeah, well, the test. Who do you think is more likely to open the door for a woman, a conservative or a liberal? And immediately people have an answer. Should have nothing to do with the individual opens the door. But let me ask you this. What political party do you think Barbie would be in?
Oh, solid conservative. She couldn't afford that lifestyle without being a solid conservative. Let's be real.
What do you think?
She has a jet. She's got a mansion.
So
she's got a pool.
So she's Ricky Lake all the way. Right? What's her name?
She's a lib.
You think she's a lib?
How is
Really?
she? Well, she doesn't work.
You can have all that stuff and still be liberal-minded. Is that a word?
What makes you now automatically you thought Barbie? This is my point, folks.
Well,
Things
'cause you
that
asked
should
us the
have nothing to
question.
do with politics. People are
What was the
sure
question?
that.
What political party is
Do
Barbie?
you think Barbie would be a member of?
Yeah.
Would be a liberal?
I think so.
Just right off the bat.
I think she'd
we have
be-
nothing based on what?
But
Just
because,
stuff that really
like my grandson says, because.
we make generalizations about things, about politics. It's scary. I was thinking, what brought this up? I was thinking about it. I was ashamed of myself. Who would be more apt to raise a child up with more discipline in the home? Conservative or liberal? Conservative. Well, I don't know. There could be liberals out there that have the heavy hand and make the kid clean up the room.
I grew up liberal, and that was true of my mom.
It was?
She had a heavy hand.
Yeah, but was she liberal in today's sense of the liberal?
She wasn't woke.
No, you're right.
She
you're
believed
right.
a mom, a dad. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right.
Treated elders with respect and all that stuff. That's not the liberals.
But
we
I mean,
have
she
today.
voted. She was a Clinton person. I mean, she was
by
the lines.
But Clinton himself, he instituted a lot of conservative policies.
Yeah, true. Very true.
So so you think, how about Ken? My
Liberal.
political party.
Liberal. What do you Ken?
I think Ken's probably libertarian.
He's
probably
back
smoking. He's probably smoking dope back in the back room in the dollhouse.
Ken's a follower. Ken's a follower.
Oh gosh, yes. Barbie wears
She
the
rules
pants
the
in
roost,
that out.
so I think he would follow her.
Ken.
Yes.
Ken's like Marianne
leaning.
Williamson.
He is whooped. Yeah, Ken.
I just want love.
Yes.
Just love.
All right. Well, let's move on to more important things. You know, I have on this show, folks. How do I? Well, let me just go straight to the point. I have not been a fan of LeBron James. I respect his talent on the basketball court. I don't think he's the greatest player of all time. I think Michael Jordan is in that debate. I certainly don't like a lot of his politics. He immediately brings racism into everything, demonizes police left and right. But something happened I think it was today.
Yeah, this morning.
When his son Bronny,
Yesterday.
was it yesterday? Yeah. At a practice, a USC practice, had a cardiac arrest, basically a heart attack, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Thank goodness that he had this happen to him with other people around, because he was able to get medical attention right away. And it's very, very serious. And you have a heart attack, immediately I think about Hank Gathers, 1990. You remember that? The basketball player.
Great player.
Free throw. And then there was Reggie Lewis of the Celtics.
Well, just recently, the Bills.
And then the Bills.
DeMar Hamlin.
Yeah.
But when something like this happens, you just wipe, at least for me, I just wipe all these differences that we have. Not that we won't pick that up, and I may have something to say about LeBron James's political beliefs if he continues to tweet right ever. But right now, that is the last thing on my mind. My heart, from all accounts, I hear that he's a really great dad. That I may not like his politics, but by all accounts, he's a great husband, a great father. He's there for his kids. We know the relationship he had with Bronny. One of his reasons he said he's hanging around is a chance to maybe play with his son in the NBA. Having a kid who played football, myself, I can only imagine how things turn. You're talking about do you enter the NBA or do you go to college? And then you get the call, hey, Mr. James, you need to get down here. Well, your son's just had a heart attack. My goodness, all I'm feeling right now is empathy and love for LeBron James. And my heart goes out to him and just wishing a speedy, speedy recovery for this young man. What are your thoughts on that?
Yep, same thing.
Amen.
Same thing.
No.
Politics doesn't need to be infused into everything.
No.
Totally agree.
And not even we wish him, all the best, and he's in our prayers. But no but about it right now. There's no buts. I'm not going to get in but this and but that. Certain things you just call a timeout. You call a truce, and you just feel for your fellow human being. And if you're a father, my goodness,
kid's 18 years old, Hoss.
Oh man, and it's every parent's nightmare to get that phone call.
Got one of those.
And Robert, that's up to you when you want to talk. When you want to talk about that, but I know that's Robert knows that feeling all too well.
Yeah, it's 18. That's amazing. So you wonder. I mean, we're not going to speculate, but you're certainly thinking, well, what the heck happened? Was it just a one-off? Has he had issues in the past? Haven't heard of anything.
Have not heard of a thing. It's like the Bible says, in a twinkling of an eye.
Yeah. Oh, in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
In the blink of an eye.
Anyway, okay.
So,
I just our heart goes out to LeBron James and Bronny, his mama, his brother. I don't know if he has any sisters. I think he just has
his whole family.
The two boys. Yeah, the whole family. Okay. Hey, have you been watching what's happening over there in Israel, our closest ally in the Middle East? Very, very important country. That you just connect the dots, it affects us even locally here. We don't have an ally like Israel in the Middle East to keep some kind of sanity, some kind of stability. in terms of freedom and democracy in that part of the world.
Very important part of the
world.
world.
Oh, my gosh. Just ask the Colonel. I love your shows, by the way, Guillermo, with the Colonel. You get together with him from time to time and just wind him up and let him go. And it's fascinating.
So much knowledge.
Oh,
I mean, the Colonel.
this is a guy having knowledge.
The Colonel has.
My word.
And you ever talk to people who know stuff, like classified stuff? But they're just real, kind of.
Well, we don't on this show.
No, not at all. No one trusts us with classified information. But the Colonel classified. Yeah, the Colonel spent a lot of time in a lot of part of the world. He's told me about some things in Iran that he was a part of. I mean, the guy knows the region.
Mm-hmm.
He knows the players. Highly respected. You go with him to Israel. Highly respected.
Let me put this on the table. For those who don't know what's going on over there, let me give you the latest controversy. People are up in arms. It appears to be similar to what's going on here in America in terms of politically a 50-50 country. 50% conservative, 50% liberal. That's bearing out in pretty much every election, whether it be local or federal level, state level, except you get into some fully red states or really heavy blue states. In terms of the whole United States, it's kind of a 50-50 country. It looks like the same thing in Israel. You have people on the left really going apoplectic because the lawmakers on a 64-0 vote, so they're certainly not 50-50 in the Knesset, that voted that the Supreme Court in Israel has gone too far in the terms of checking. They have the checks and the balances. They're supposed to. A co-equal branches of government between the prime minister, the president, the legislative branch, and the Supreme Court. So apparently you're having this activist Supreme Court. I'm speaking from the Bibi Netanyahu and his supporters' version of what's going on in the Supreme Court, becoming very activist, not really interpreting their version of the Constitution in the proper way, to the point that they feel that the country's security is at stake in very, very volatile times when Iran may be a frog hair away from getting a nuclear bomb. They need a consensus on certain big issues facing that country. And they feel the Supreme Court is coming in and usurping their power and overreaching. But you have the other half that's saying, no, you guys are the overreachers, Netanyahu and conservatives. My question here is, what is Joe Biden going to do? Biden despises Bibi Netanyahu. Everybody on the left hates Benjamin Netanyahu, right? But they're taking the same tact that Netanyahu is with this Supreme Court, with their decision on abortion, their decisions on affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying this Supreme Court is out of control. They're going where they shouldn't go. Biden's saying we should pack the court. We should do something.
Go there. Yeah,
we should do this.
We need more justices.
Yeah. Where can he? What grounds does he have to go in and criticize Benjamin Netanyahu's concerns about the Supreme Court in Israel when he's doing the same thing here in America?
Yeah, and Joe Biden has no reason. I don't even think he understands the complexity over there. So Israel has no constitution. That's the big problem. So Israel doesn't have a constitution. And so a lot of what comes out of there ends up in their Supreme Court, and their standard is reasonableness.
Right.
It's the reasonableness standard. And those justices in Israel get to choose their successors. So it's not like over here where, the president nominates and then they have to go. They literally, the outgoing person gets to choose who's going to replace them.
And that's a big rub.
It's a big problem over there. So now you have this very, very liberal Supreme Court in Israel is now starting to interpret something that has no constitutional basis, obviously anti-Bibi Netanyahu.
So their basis for their rulings is on reasonableness?
Is essentially it's laws that come out of the Knesset, and then if there's an issue,
so they obviously have a system of a collection of laws that govern the land. Some do's and don'ts. You can do this. You can't do that type thing, right?
Well, they have a framework,
not in a constitutional sense.
But they have a framework of some
They have rules and laws.
Okay,
but remember,
and they're not the only country that does the reasonableness theory either.
Yeah,
I mean, Australia does it as well.
But I mean, these guys got to get their poop in a group and pass the con. They got to figure something out. You You can't pass laws without having some basis to it, and that's the problem. And that's the big problem. So now, and don't forget, to even have this coalition that we have now with Bibi Netanyahu, it's taken 4 elections just to get to this point. So when you look at this country, very, very important country, very small country, you gotta understand that any kind of turmoil in that country, you're going to have some very bad people try to take advantage of it. Because if Israel is in chaos, and that's why you're going to see Joe Biden just keep adding fuel to the fire. Because if Israel is chaotic, then they're going to say, well, hey, listen, maybe we got to rethink this whole Israel thing. Maybe we got to do a 2-state solution. Maybe you guys don't even know what the heck's going on. So I think, unfortunately, it opens the door for the left and other players in that region to say, hey, if you people are unhappy, let's kind of rethink this. I mean, I go back to the way I started. They don't have a constitution.
But they do, okay, which is weird.
It's very weird.
But you do have a checks and balances, or you wouldn't even have a Supreme Court and a president and prime minister and a legislative branch. So you have checks and balances, whether it be on reasonableness. You that's what's going on, is these checks and balances. And you want to check the ambition of human beings, like our forefathers did with the legislative branch, executive branch, and the judicial branch. So they had a constitution, which made it somewhat easier because the Supreme Court is simply supposed to not legislate, but interpret what that constitution says. So when the legislative branch brings forth a law, they juxtapose that against the Constitution and said this is either constitutional or unconstitutional. That was the problem with Roe versus Wade. There was nothing in the Constitution,
right?
So the Supreme Court should have never ruled that it was constitutional or not constitutional. It should have been kicked back to the states because the Constitution says, I think it's the 10th Amendment, I may be wrong on that anything
14th.
that's not 14th Amendment, 14th, which is not anything that's not in that federal document is under the purview of the states. And so they need to fix something up, because how do you survive in the Middle East if you're not a theocracy to some extent? Can you have a secular state in Israel and have it survive, being surrounded by pretty much all Muslim states? They don't want to call themselves a theocracy, but basically they are. Jewish law. So do you think that, I'd like to ask the colonel this question as well. Doesn't it seem like if you're going to survive as a country, you're going to have a reform, and that reform has to look something like a constitution?
Oh, without a doubt.
Where you apply either Jewish law to that and become unabashedly somewhat of a theocracy. I mean, here in America, our Constitution is based on Judeo-Christian ethics, endowed by our Creator. We have it written there, that we find these truths to be self-evident, that were given by God. At least something in a document, or are they doomed for just a chaotic demise?
It's very different, obviously, than our founding, because over there right now with Bibi's government, his coalition government, you have a lot of ultra-religious Jews. So now they call them the ultra-right because they're very religious. And so I think that's also adding fuel to this fire, that now you do have a lot of ultra-religious Jews in there. So does something have to happen? Absolutely. They either got to establish some kind of framework that makes it a lot easier, because Israel, unfortunately, has always been in turmoil because the ultimate check has always been the people and their inability to have a coalition, which is why they've gone to 4 elections. But it
seems to me, having followed this since, when I remember the 67 war, I remember that got our attention. We were 15. I mean, we didn't know in depth what was happening.
Yeah.
We were 15 years old, Bob and I, when they had this 6-day war, what have you. But it seems like those that are called ultra-right now, ultra-conservative, ultra-religious, were basically the mainstream back then. Because the whole thing was how Israel stuck together. Their little country stuck together. And they were very, very steeped in their faith. The Jewish state, they understood the threat to the Jewish state from people like Yasser Arafat and even Egypt at one time. And Carter was able to broker a peace deal between Anwar Sadat and Menachem Begin, which was unheard of, cost Sadat his life. But it seems like that solidarity has dissipated, and you're starting to marginalize what used to be the mainstream, are now called ultra-right religious people. And the question is, can Israel survive in a truly homogenized version of itself?
Without a doubt. So in talking to, I know
Now they can survive.
I've spent every Friday with the Colonel talking about Israel, so I kind of feel like I'm kind of like some of him is rubbing off of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
you can tell.
But so
He's better looking.
Oh, way better looking. So and a lot tougher. So basically, what you have over there is you do have that sense of, hey, our enemies are surrounding us because of compulsory, mandatory military service. So you do have a lot of these Jews, as soon as they hit 18, they got to do 2 years, unless you're a religious, and you're an Orthodox religious Jew, you kind of get out of it. But that's why I think they understand the threats, because a lot of their youngsters, women and men, serve the military, so they see it. Ironically, though, in talking to the Colonel, what do you think the political affiliation of those people, of the military leaders, are? They're liberal. And I was like, what? Well, that doesn't make any sense.
How can you be liberal
coming out of the
when you're surrounded by country of which 99% of those countries don't even recognize your right?
They want to
exist.
see you annihilated off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
How could you say? How could you say? Well, let's try to find some common ground with Charles Manson. I mean, it's like you. I mean, these folks. They're blatantly. They're outwardly saying, if we get a chance, we'll behead you. Nothing personal.
Yeah.
But
just the way it is.
Just the way it is.
Let me give you my perspective, and I've checked it with the Colonel to make sure that I'm on the right path here. Well,
by the way, you're quite fascinating this morning.
Hey, well, yeah,
I'm serious.
And when I know stuff,
very seldom am I hanging on every word.
Well,
hanging on every one of your words. Go ahead,
because this is the topic I know about. Well, the other stuff I don't know about. I just kind of wing it.
You know about Barbie?
Yeah,
no, Bob's our expert on that. Barbie's a liberal. I'm with you. Go ahead.
So here's the reality with I think is going on in Israel. You have another generation coming up, a younger generation that is not ultra religious Jew. It's very, very secular in Israel. People think like, oh no, it's just they're all Jews. No, they're not.
Didn't know that.
So here you have this younger generation coming up in Israel. At the same time, you have a younger generation taking power in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Morocco. So all these family dynasties in these countries that we're essentially making rich off of their oil, they're all younger. The old way of thinking, I believe, is no longer prevalent, which you saw with the Abraham Accords. These dynasties want more money.
Okay, let me ask you this. Does this new generation, this new wave, speaking of the Arab world, include a free and secure Israel that is a Jewish state?
I believe so.
You do?
I absolutely. Because of Israel's economic ability. I think now in that region, it's all about money and whether people can get along.
But if you feel you could take those machinations, that because they've been able to produce water in an totally arid environment
out of the air.
These desalination plants, they're supplying water to all of these other Arab countries. Now they're charging them, but what's to stop these Arab countries going, you know what? They're up and going really well, their economy. We've kind of figured it out. And what would be the difference if we had a Islamic state running that now rather than the Jewish state? We wouldn't have to put up with this pushback. Why would it not happen? And Bob, you jump in here, buddy, with your.
So when me and the Colonel talked about this, you have a lot of Arab tribes over there. All right, tons, and a lot of these Arab tribes don't get along. They don't like each other, and a big problem has been the Palestinian Authority, has been Mahmoud Abbas. So a lot of these big wealthy Arab countries are like, you know what? They don't even know what to do with the Palestinian group. So that's why I don't believe they're ever going to say, oh yeah, let's just go ahead and give it to the Palestinian Authority, Israel's land. Israel is actually doing them a favor because they're essentially acting as a check on the Palestinian Authority and essentially Iran. So I don't think that's not going to happen.
You know, I heard one time, and it sounded kind of plausible how real it is, but the fellow told me who was I wouldn't call him in the colonel status of knowledge, but knew the Middle East really well, lived there, said that the Arab world does not want to get rid of Israel because politically they have someone they can blame their problems on, no matter what it is, whether it's a bad economy, horrible leadership, drought, whatever.
Yeah, it's true.
As long, and
Convenient scapegoat.
Yeah, and if Israel was gone, they would have to take all the blame yourself. What do you think about that? I know we're just conjecture here, but
I think
it made a little sense to me.
I think there may be
Makes a
some
lot of sense.
truth to that. I want to go back to what Guillermo said in getting back to this bill in the Supreme Court of Israel. And you mentioned judges, and part of this bill, or at least part that Netanyahu wanted to get passed. I don't know if it was included in this one quite yet. Was he wanted to have more authority on selection of Supreme Court judges,
Makes sense.
which is what you mentioned, that they just named their successor.
Yeah.
Don't forget another little side bit. Netanyahu is in some trouble as well for corruption and allegations.
Yeah, thank you.
But if it gets to that point, wouldn't you want to have judges on your side in the Supreme Court?
I think that's what's probably causing a lot of the distrust, but I think that you got a point there. I don't like that system. You appoint your successor.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I don't. I think that's part of what you said, Guillermo. There's got to be some reforms happening in that country, and that's one that jumps out right away. It's really befuddling to me too, though. You see these riots in the street, mostly young people going nuts, going up. But it passed 64-0 to make these modifications to the Supreme Court out of Knesset. Now, these are representatives from all over Israel.
Yeah, you have some Arab representatives.
Well,
there.
that got into office by election. So they must feel pretty secure that back home. So could this be just a well-mobilized, because it's a small country, you don't have to get too many people together and turn over cars and scream and yell and what have you to make it look like a whole lot of people, that maybe, in fact, this is not that big of an uprising, that percentage-wise, most of the people in Israel believe that Supreme Court is a little bit reckless and out of control and needs some modifications. That's what it appears to me. Because if you really if you're Netanyahu and you're that Knesset, and you think you're looking down the barrel of a real revolution, a real insurrection against you're going to do something. You're going to kind of give in to that a little bit more. They basically just said, in your face, you guys. I mean, if you just looked at the BLM riots and what they stood for, you just interviewed the BLM, you would think this country was the most racist country on the face of the earth around the world. And a lot of the countries do, because that's all they saw.
Yeah.
They didn't say David Dorn being shot dead trying to protect his home, 71-year-old. They didn't talk to the Thomas Sowells of the world, the Ben Carsons of the world, the black folk that this country has, that are so proud of this country. So maybe that's what we're looking at as well. But you seem to think it's more, and the Colonel seems to think, correct me if I'm wrong, then we'll move on to another subject, that this goes deeper, that there is a more of a legitimate grassroots real uprising that the ruling party there at the present time should be concerned about. That Bibi Netanyahu should really be concerned about this total chaos that can come out of this.
Oh, well, absolutely, because you essentially have one branch of government that's in control. All will always be in control if they have that ultimate check where we get to decide whatever you guys come out, whatever the Knesset comes out, we'll decide if it's actually valid or not. I mean, that's a lot of power.
Well, the Supreme Court has
that. The Supreme Court.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, do you and the Colonel, from you talking to him, is there a real valid concern? Is Bibi Netanyahu and the Knesset right in saying, look, this is such a pressing issue. We're living in such dangerous times. Israel has never been so threatened as it is now. We have to have these reforms or we're going to lose our country as we knew it.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And my point is, you're going to have some controversy. And is the opposition to that thought being exaggerated by what we're seeing on TV right now? Because let me tell you, the mainstream media is no fan of Bibi Netanyahu.
Or Israel.
Period.
Yeah. Never have been.
Yeah, and you're talking about a lot of Jewish, non-practicing Jews here in which is astounding in Hollywood and the media that do not back up Israel and Netanyahu on this.
That'd be a question for the colonel. He's got a pulse. He's got contacts in Israel, so he'd be able to tell you definitively, like, they're making a mountain out of a molehill, or if it truly is something that's gripping the nation.
Yeah, because you just don't want to lose that out. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about these barrel barriers in Texas. Biden's suing Governor Abbott. Yeah. Governor Abbott, because he's saying, hey, you don't stop folks coming over, we're going to put some barrels out there in the Rio Grande. And like I said, Uncle Joe doesn't like that. We'll be right back.
Got to be birds
flying higher in the sky, more blue.
Who is this guy?
If I
Who
could
is
dream of a better life
I don't know who that is.
for all my brothers.
Elvis. I feel very proud knowing that.
I know who it was.
Or that's why baby left me.
Hey, are we going to get to talk about Costco? Did you hear that?
What happened to
the
Costco?
nation's biggest Costco could be coming.
coming to Fresno.
The nation's biggest Costco.
Biggest Costco.
Square footage.
Which I think is just sad.
They're coming to Fresno.
Yeah, out in by 199.
I thought they had a pretty big Costco here already.
Oh, this was going to.
Well, they've had
Double
big.
big.
But why would it just?
I'm going to tell you, the traffic out there now is horrendous.
But who needs to buy in bulk? Like, do we want to be known as the city that just buys in bulk?
Well, if you have kids, it makes a lot of sense.
I buy in bulk all the time.
I hate Costco.
Well, then don't go there.
I don't. I just hate going.
You know,
that's like Costco.
I got a car, that's like people criticizing
that's a great conservative way.
The Jason Aldean video. Well, then don't watch the damn thing.
Yeah, but
try that in a small
Go
town.
do something.
It was Jerry Dyer at the end of his administration could be like, well, we got the world's biggest Costco. Like,
yeah, so
what?
No, that's true. Square footage wise, it could be the biggest one in the United States.
That's like saying we have the.
Why did he come out? He didn't do a press conference.
No. I hope. Yeah, he probably will eventually. Talk about how proud he is.
But they've zoned that out. Well, it's been zoned commercial, but yeah, it's going to be the biggest one. And I'm telling you, the traffic out there will be gridlock from 6 a.m. till midnight
but it's just
every day.
Sad. It just makes zeros like you don't
listen.
need 24 gallons of pasta sauce.
Yes.
Okay.
You
don't.
But
1 minute.
I need 4,000 pounds of toilet paper immediately.
What was it? Either night the Kroger chains out there.
Yeah, Kroger.
And then every month they would have a sale on lard, just pure lard. And I don't know where they got this, but they sold it in big old buckets, and all it said on there in big black letters on white was lard. And people were
sold it out.
Oh God, they were carrying out. The kids were carrying it out.
30 seconds.
Lard, 48 gallons of lard.
Oh my gosh,
that'll last a week. Lard. That's to cook that fat back in.
Nothing tastes better than lard.
Oh man,
YOLO, baby. You only live once, baby.
I guess.
YOLO.
Use as much lard as you can. Lard.
Lard.
10 seconds.
Good lard.
Who? How much?
10. 5 seconds?
Not now. Yeah, there you go.
5 seconds to impact. Damn it, Spock.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
Man, that song makes you.
Most realistic artificial grass.
Yeah.
This little song that makes you make one of those ugly faces. like you smell it so bad. Like a stanky song.
Don't look back. Hey, I heard he put on a heck of a concert the other night.
John Fogerty?
Yeah, up at one of the local casinos here.
Did he?
Heard he did a great job. Yeah, I had a friend who went.
Sounded like
he's
like
got
Creedence?
some of his kids in his band now.
Really?
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Does
he do all the Creedence hits?
I think.
How old is the guy?
I don't.
You know who John Fogerty?
I saw the signs on the 41, but I didn't.
Yeah, he was lead singer of
75.
That was John Fogerty. He was first coming in.
I would have gone.
Creedence Clearwater.
Oh,
great hits.
Those guys were great.
I tell you, when you hear those songs, I just think Vietnam. That's all I think. Vietnam.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this song.
That and Tina Turner. Yeah, I did.
This song.
I was going to say, that does sound like a Forrest Gump song.
Okay. Let's go. Before we get to the barrels in the Rio Grande, it was a good idea, bad idea. Biden's gonna and you know, So I guess we can do, huh?
A Johnny Rodriguez song, Down on the Rio Grande.
Well, I'm trying to introduce a subject here.
Sorry.
Just
It's the wrong radio station, Bob. We don't talk about music and movies all the time.
About Barbie. Kid. My gosh, it's Taco Tuesday. Do we got Chewy out there to get us back on track?
Thank you.
Chewy, get us back on track.
Hoss.
Get us back on track, Chewy.
I got you off the track.
Thank you, Chewy.
All right,
now
reset.
we're back.
Reset.
We got
that gets us back in
the
a hurry.
Chewy reset. Okay, I know this is a subject very important to Chewy. We won't say how Chewy got here, but Chewy's a fine American. You want to send Chewy back? You got to go through me. No, you got to go through me. Illegal or not legal. You got to go through me.
Here we go.
To get to Chewy. You send us
Could
both
be off the
back,
air tomorrow.
Okay,
Pretty much.
Chewy's been part of building a strong and great America, and you get on Chewy's fighting side, you fight old me. These barrels that Abbott has put into the water, what do you think about that? I have no problem with it. I guess, I mean, they're coming through these horror stories, and they just don't make sense. They showed this one, I'm seeing this one announcer said how horrible this was, that one of the immigrants coming across got caught in the razor wire in the barrels and was just ripped. It was awful. And said, we're going to show you some images, and we must warn you, what you're about to see could be very disturbing. And they showed a guy's arm with like a 2-inch scratch on it. And I'm going, and apparently then he comes back and goes, this man was caught in the razor wire and was ripped. It wasn't for the other immigrants who came to his aid. He would have been killed. And I'm looking, and that's all they showed was a little scratch on his arm. And my point is, my goodness, you don't come across there. And if you think it might not be a safe journey across there, good. And especially those people that have brought little kids on this long, torturous, dangerous journey. Unless you're fleeing from persecution, unless the cartel is really after you, unless your life is really in danger, I'm sorry, folks, parents or guardians, whatever, I have no sympathy for you grabbing those kids, trekking across Mexico in this heat with those little 5, 6, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids. Then you get to the Rio Grande and then swim across. You don't care about those kids. I mean, you got to wait. You do not make that kind of decision, and say you care about the kids. I mean, if you care about the kids, then you say, hey, let's reinstitute the stay in Mexico policy, which Biden has, by the way, about 2 years too late. But what's your position on it? I'm not trying to influence one way or the other. I got no problem with what Abbott is doing. And Biden coming there with this, with his flimsy reason why he's against it, because it's against, it hinders his ability to keep the border secure.
This is Bidenomics right there. It just makes zero sense.
It's bad, but it's good. Or it's good, but it's bad. Can't figure it out.
What you guys take on?
I guess this goes without saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's sad that it's come to this. If this government, under many administrations, would ever get off their butt and actually come up with a bona fide immigration reform system, program, protocols, then you wouldn't have to be putting barrels in the middle of the Rio Grande River to stop folks from coming over. It should never have come to this. That might be a firm grasp of the obvious, but that's...
Let me ask you this, Guillermo.
Sure.
You've got a kid, 10-year-old kid, accompanying boy, girl, by a single male. You get that a lot.
Unfortunately.
If you notice the pictures on it, you see that a lot in the lines and the caravans. Sometimes you see what looks to be intact families, a mother or father, which you gather some young kids. You see that, but you also see little 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids, it looks to be that age, very, very young, with a single male that looks more like either an older brother or an uncle. Okay, if you look at that. If you come in there and say to the authorities, you make it across the Rio Grande, you're there. Now you're in custody and they're going to let you go. And you say, who are you to this child? Well, I'm their uncle. I'm their father. I'm sorry. I got to have more proof.
Oh,
you're
sure, yeah.
staying in custody till I know who the heck you are, dude. Why are you here?
But then you're separating families.
Well, there's no proof of the family, and you ask the kid. Well, the kid says that you're. Yeah, the kid's scared to death.
The human
Come
trafficking.
on, man.
The human trafficking
come
is
on.
out of control. It's abysmal.
Yeah, and
It's
I don't know.
terrible.
I haven't got the invite yet, so maybe I'm not invited anymore. But last year I went to the fair, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, and just talking to some of the ranchers who have that border property, talking to some of the border patrol, and you see the look in their eye, like they've seen this sex trafficking, they've seen these children. I mean, it was talking to those guys is another level, because these cartels and these systems that utilize sex trafficking are so. I mean, they are unfortunately very well ran. They know how to run those kids. They know who to put them with, and the government just, oh yeah, you guys are related, sure, come on in. And we found out, I think it was 2 years ago, a young girl showed up to our ER here, and found out that she'd been abused, and the guy that brought her in, she crossed the border with in Texas, and wasn't the father. And it took some prying out of that girl to finally figure that out. She didn't just volunteer it.
Sure, they're scared to death.
They're scared to death.
Well, because there could be recrimination
it breaks
against
my
the
heart.
family.
And you imagine those. I'm just sitting there thinking. You imagine those border patrol folks going home at night. They can't just leave. I mean, leave that at work.
No, they see it every
And
day.
they know they're not related.
Which explains why they get so angry at these policies. They see it, they know it, they directly deal with it, and they see the guy with the that they've brought in, and that the border patrol said, hey, something's not right here, to whoever's processing the application to come in. I mean, you can just see it. The guy, well, sorry, we're going to let him in. And you just see the guy looking back at the border patrol, smiling at him, going, hey, you lost. They taught them.
Yeah.
And you wonder why they're so adamant, so passionate about their job. And you can kind of see why they get on the horses and say, no, don't come across here.
Yeah. And that all has to do with where you started, the barrier here. Do I think that the buoys or whatever the heck this is out in the Rio Grande is acceptable? I'm actually going to take the neutral road, because I don't think it's a good idea to have them out there, because let me tell you what, the Latino resolve to get across any barrier is pretty damn high. If you're looking out in the Rio Grande and you see a couple buoys, like, oh, I can scale. Yeah, that's fine. I'm going to scale that. I mean, they showed pictures on CNN. They're literally buoys, and at the end of it, they run out. There's no more buoys. So you could just literally swim around the buoys. So my issue with the buoys is I think you're giving the perception that it's pretty easily you could scale.
You might have a point there.
So my biggest problem is, if I'm trying to get across, I'm gonna just let's do it. And then the sad part is that people have kids with them. They're gonna say, hey, it doesn't look that bad. You're gonna follow me, or else we're not gonna make it. And so now they're getting their kids involved, and that's why not. And I know why not, because the federal government's not backing up Texas. So I understand where Abbott's coming from, but if you're going to make a barrier, you make it big enough to where it's a deterrent, because something like that's not going to deter them. A wall will deter them. It hasn't yet. So I
never thought about
it. So you're saying that the barrels are just how do I put this? A challenge to get around, or
just not a deterrent?
It's not a deterrent.
They think they get through it and they get out.
This is no big deal. We can do that.
You light the whole river on fire, and it's a firewall that goes up 5 feet. I'm like, you know what? I don't think I'm not gonna go through that. But they showed pictures of it. It looked like a couple buoys.
I'll go out there and then I'll just hang on the buoy and rest a little bit, then do the other half.
Yeah, or
you might have a point.
Or they might get there and they might realize, oh crap, there's razor wire in this, or and then they really get
Where's
stuck.
Where's the razor wire? Is it in the
I don't know.
The rope or whatever is on the buoy. I don't. Where's the razor wire? I don't understand.
I don't know. Maybe they need to put up signs. I don't know where the razor wire is there, because they, or at least the.
Or is that on some fence somewhere?
Well, CNN said there's razor wire.
So there's razor wire.
So I don't know.
But unfortunately, that's
the wound I saw was certainly not
the whole thing is so damn sad that, and this country sat on their butts and not done anything.
Let's do a little whiplash.
Uh-oh.
Come from that issue here to the local
UFOs.
Local.
Oh, did you see that?
What's that?
My government is hiding UFOs from me, and I know it.
Why does Fox? Why did these?
Hey, whoa.
You got Laura Ingraham. You've got what's his name? The The new guy
Waters?
that took
Jesse
Jesse
Waters?
Waters. This is my world. Just stop that. I'm Waters. This is my world.
Stop. He's really. I met the guy. He's really nice.
He seems like a nice guy. But I would tell him, stop doing O'Reilly. If you watch him, he's mimicked. O'Reilly got him in the business.
Really?
Yes.
Promoted
he
him,
does
yep.
Riley from his gestures to this and that. Nobody's caught on yet. He's doing Bill O'Reilly. And he's, anyway, there's no, these UFOs, and it's just appealing to a segment that watches Fox News that buys that.
Alex,
Yeah, buys that globe. You ever see you see the National Enquirer, then these things called the Globe. That no, sincerely, that has Robert Downey Jr. with Robert Downey Jr. with two heads. That he's actually
no,
Robert.
Sir. Okay,
He's
an
alien baby.
Yeah,
it's an alien
what
baby.
Are all these? Our military is basically saying we can't explain this. Either it's another. You don't believe we're alone.
Explain what? I believe we're absolutely alone.
Oh no, Al, we are.
You know who even says that? I mean,
CNN?
Elon Musk, even the scientists that have gone with telescopes said they have seen nothing that would indicate there would be anything.
No,
I've seen nothing
that would indicate there's life
Nothing.
like we know it. Now, there's nothing, not even a hint of it. There's not a primordial soup on any planet that life that we know could emerge from. Not even close. You got to have oxygen. You have to have a sun set it right at the right place. You have to have a moon
for
set
humans.
right at the right. Well, what do you call life?
Other
beings. It could be a planet of water bottles. That's not life. What are you talking? I talk about life that it can function on its own. That has eventually the capacity to make a brain that can breathe. That's
baseball.
life, huh?
Play baseball.
Yes,
Maybe not play baseball.
they can evolve into MMA.
No, I firmly believe that there are other life forms. It's biblical. It's biblical.
It is not biblical.
It is entirely biblical.
Where you see there's
I want to hear this.
where there's 10 commandments on Pluto.
Listen.
Where does it say that? Is it 20 commandments?
I will tell you this. That's we have great Christian programming on the weekend, so I can't point to the Bible where
we're
it's
not
at.
going to get to the local issue, are we?
No, listen. It's in the Bible. It's in the
You're
section.
just pulling my leg, aren't you?
Pastor Max,
That's an
tell
old
him to call it.
Southern saying there. You're pulling my leg, aren't you?
No, it's in the Bible where it says that when we're kind of in front of we're in this we're in this group and there's other beings in there.
Let him go. He'll dig his hole.
Basically, humans are. I like turtles.
Still try it.
I'm done with that.
Keep going.
Nonplussed.
You know what? You do this. I'm going to Google this.
No, I've got to. Oh my goodness!
It's in the
If
Bible.
the internet says there's life on other planets, my goodness, you got to believe them. What does that Bible
Let me finish
know?
Googling.
Don't read that rag. The
Johnny
Bible.
Finnegan jumped off the Empire State Building. I guess you would too.
No, even the scientists have said
Are they the same COVID scientists?
mathematical probabilities of life as we know it just happening are just are astronomical. Like they don't exist. They're so high. It's a miracle. Go from the Big Bang theory, the Big Bang, to life as we know it. That out of a primordial swamp that had no life, suddenly living creatures suddenly emerged out of non-living matter, became living matter, evolved so much that thing crawled out of the primordial swamp and evolved over years into a human being. And they said that the chances of that ever happening, even once, to happen twice, are just totally out of the question, which means that God created this planet to be inhabited by human beings and by life. And there's no indication in the Old Testament or New Testament that there's life on other planets.
Your Honor, I'd like to introduce my first piece of evidence.
Put Exhibit A on the table for ridicule.
All right. How did Trump say it? One palms. In the Book of Jobs.
2 Corinthians.
Book of Jobs.
All right. Biden needs that one. All right, here. Colossians 1:16.
Thessalonica.
Could build a casino there.
Colossians 1:16. For in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or powers or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. Deuteronomy 4:19. And when you look up,
what does that have to do with UFOs?
Okay, what things in heaven?
Where do you?
I was waiting for the great revelation, but I didn't get it.
I mean, it's not going to say, "Hey, God created humans and ET."
No, because he didn't.
I don't know that.
Of course, it won't.
Okay, so what was the next one?
Deuteronomy 4:19. And when you look up,
just when our show was getting viewers and listeners,
here we
just
go.
when we were on a winning streak.
Oh my
Here we go.
gosh.
Go ahead.
Down in the toilet again.
And when you look up to the sky and see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping things the Lord your God has appointed to all the nations under heaven.
Under heaven.
All the nations, which
Yes.
means E.T. and everybody.
No.
Yes, it does.
It doesn't.
Gosh, your interpretations. No. First of all, it talks about the third heaven. You know what Paul said he went to the third? First, you have the heaven here on earth, on earth as it is in heaven. The first heaven. Then the second heaven is like the stars that you see, these planets. The second heaven. Third heaven is the heaven we all hope to get to. The third heaven. Okay? It's not another solar system with people. Now, from what I understand, in the Mormon faith, I may be wrong here. Don't get mad at me. I have a lot of Mormon friends, but that there's life on other planets and that sort of thing. But I don't subscribe to that unless I see something more evidence than some burnt out piece of meteorite that they say traveled 10 million miles to get to the Earth, and they examine it and they find no signs of life. Why does it bother people so much to think this is it? We're special to God. This is a very special place in the entire infinity.
Nehemiah 9:6. Nehemiah 9:6.
He's going to convince himself. I'm sure, somewhere along the
You
line.
alone are God. You made the heavens, even the highest heavens, and all their starry hosts, the earth and all that is in it, the seas and all that is in them. You give life to everything, and the multitudes of heaven worship you. I rest my case.
Blasphemy! No, that's not blasphemy. That's not talking. I believe what you just said 100%. It's from the Bible. But it is still no proof of any other beings.
We're not alone.
We're alone. We're going to certainly be alone in this show after this show. Nobody's going to be watching. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Guillermo, Bobby, thank you. Love you guys so much. Love you all.
God.
Just do your best. Let God do the rest, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye now.